Hello and welcome back to Read Becca. It's a Tag Tuesday and we're sort of doing this on the fly because I saw a tag I wanted to do yesterday and I think it came out a couple days before, but it's a very brand new tag and I was so excited about it because it's exactly my sort of thing. It's a short tag, it's on a topic I love, so I was like, we're doing it and we're gonna get it up same day. So we're gonna do it. Assuming the processing cooperates. Lately my video processing has been like taking forever. I don't know what is up with that. I apologize for things being delayed, but it's been taking like a day or more. So we're gonna keep this hopefully shorter-ish, maybe, and that will mean processing is shorter. So let's jump right in. This is the Bring Browsing Back tag from the roving reader who's great, reads very widely, and has been doing a lot of lovely travel vlogs right now. So check out those lovely travel vlogs. I've been really enjoying them. So this is a short one, as I said. There's only 3 questions and a show and tell, I would say. So let's jump right in to the first prompt. That's magic of discovery. Share a book you found while browsing that you may not have discovered otherwise. So I should actually preface this with the fact that I browse constantly. I browse my library at least once a week. I just love wandering the shelves. I buy primarily from charity sales, so I love to see what is there, to dig through piles. The thrill of the hunt is really what I'm in it for. I don't as much like just walking into a bookstore that has all the same brand new hyped releases. It's just not as exciting for me. Yeah, secondhand bookstore shopping is my fave. So let's start with this one. For Magic of Discovery is one that if you've been around, you've seen. I read it a couple months ago, but it's so under the radar. It has only 200 ratings on Goodreads and less than 50 reviews. So nobody's talking about it, except I love it. I found it and it was a pure cover grab from the library. It's None But the Righteous by Chantal James. So this was a great book. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like perfect. It wasn't my favorite book of the year so far, but it was really good and I will definitely be looking out for more from the author. This is really similar, I would say, to Freshwater. So if you liked Freshwater by Quaking Emezi, you should check this out, 100%. It follows this character in modern day or near modern day, post-Katrina, New Orleans, and the character is kind of grappling with finding someone lost, potentially, and very shiftless, going through post-Katrina and New Orleans and Alabama. So it's got this Southern Gothic vibe, but there's also this element where there's a voodoo tie-in. Rather than in Freshwater, we have kind of African cultural mythology. Here we have voodoo, and this character has a connection with a spirit who they have a relic, a bone piece of this saint that the spirit kind of overtakes their body at times. So there's this tension between this man and the spirit going on, and it's a really interesting dichotomy. So I just loved the interplay of those two in this book, and it's just a really well done book. So yeah, that one is my pick for one I would not have picked up if I was waiting to hear about it from other people. And number 2 is Expanding World. Share a book that has made you view things from a different perspective or exposed you to new ideas. So lots of new ideas, I would say. I read stuff for new ideas all of the time. However, we'll go with a couple things. Number 1 is Reality by Jan Westerhoff, and this is from the Very Short Introduction series from Oxford University Press. These are teeny tiny books. They're great. I love this line of books in general. They cover everything from very broad topics like reality to very narrow specific topics. And they're always by some sort of expert writing at a level for a non-expert. They're really easy to pick up. You can pick this up and read a couple pages at a time. That's how I read it. But this one in particular I love because it showed me to question how much we take for granted about what is real and what's not. So this is an account of how we perceive what's real, what we can say is real, and how our perception of things changes reality. It's really interesting because it also talks about theories of what's real and what's not, what we hypothesize. about what we presume and why maybe we can't support those things. So I found this so interesting to think through that grander scale discussion. I mean, I'm definitely not a philosopher, but I thought it was interesting to come at it from both a science and a philosophy perspective, which this does. So yeah, really, really cool discussion of what is reality. And the other one is kind of a blur between number 2 and number 3. So sticking with number 2, I have to say that something that changed my perspective, or not changed, but exposed me to new ideas, was Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. I read that in my first year of college for an English class. And so we were using it, obviously, to study English more so than the topic of the book. But it was such a divergence from everything I had been exposed to before. I had kind of grown up in very anti-environmentalist ideas, really. And so coming into Silent Spring, I was getting exposed to all these like facts and research about this, and exposing the harms to the environment, because Silent Spring is this big expose on chemical effects to the environment. And so that completely changed and helped me understand that I had been kind of told a lot of things were fact without a basis for them being fact. And so it really helped me challenge my perceptions, much like reality. And so that was a big phase shift for me in terms of entering college, and I think that is for a lot of people. And with things that are going on right now with college and education funding, and why education is so important is because that allowed me the tools to start kind of questioning things and understanding that the information I didn't have was pretty vast, and there is so much out there I could acquire in terms of knowledge. So the other one related to that is The Overstory by Richard Powers. Now this one covers a vast amount of time, but the time period, there's this very intense, like, emotional piece to this that follows environmentalists. And I grew up during the time when this was really happening as a major news story, and environmentalists were being demonized for chaining themselves to trees or living up in trees, and that's kind of the account that's here. And it felt so like, whoa, this is a flashback for me, because I remember those times and very much having entirely been told that they were like these bad guys. They were always the bad guys, and they were just ruining everything and trying to hurt loggers and lumberjacks who are just doing their job, that sort of thing. And so seeing this as an adult, 2 decades from when it was happening, or more or less, was really interesting, and showed me kind of that same element that Silent Spring did, but from having traveled those decades and gained knowledge and understanding, and after all of that, being much more empathetic with the perspective in the book, and understanding a balance between the two perceptions and facts, and that the emotional perception of each side versus facts behind it are all distinct pieces of the story. So yeah, that was really, really key, and had a huge impact on me to read that in the past couple of years, having gone on such a journey. Number 3 is Open to Change. So that ties in again to the previous one, I think. But share a book that has changed who you are as a person or altered your day-to-day habits. So I focused more on the kind of day-to-day effects with this one, and this was kind of a self-helpy book. I don't read a lot of self-help, definitely, but I don't think this was like the most amazing, mind-blowing book. But this had one element to it that really changed how I function on a day-to-day basis, or on a regular basis. Maybe not every day, but that is Pema Chodron's Welcoming the Unwelcome. And it's kind of exactly to what the title says. This is a really tiny little book as well, so it's easy to sit down and read in a day or two. And it does focus on that little element of welcoming the unwelcome. In like military and fitness, they talk about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. It's the same sort of premise. So most of it is very like you get the title and you understand. But that one element that I talked about that really changed things for me is this man recounting a story of something really traumatic in his life. And in that moment, he was a child and was unable to do anything to change the situation. And so now, as an adult, he's able to meditate on that moment where he was helpless and have empathy for the situation, for himself, for the tragedy that happened, and think about what he can do now to change situations like that. And for me, this particular story that he told involved the tragedy being something that is really affecting to me personally. So it was hard for me to read on its own. And you think about, or he even talks about this fact that, you know, if we are really sensitive to these sort of things, we try not to think about our past experiences with them because they're tragic and difficult, because they are uncomfortable and they're painful. And I definitely am in that experience. You know, I avoid those things. I avoid news stories that deal with this topic. I avoid reading social media, that sort of thing. So I think that it changed how I process those types of situations and how I engage with stories and scenarios about these difficult situations, where for me, opening myself up and not looking away, I think is the like key takeaway is that I don't look away when I can. It's difficult, and you have moments where you're sensitive, but I am much more likely to confront that and read the news story or engage with the social media post and comment on it and think about how I can affect change for these things so they aren't happening in the future, instead of being protectionary. And I think there are parts of this book that talk about how putting yourself in that frame actually opens you up to greater, broader empathy. So you connecting with empathy to this past experience, this individual experience, actually puts you in a mental frame of empathy. So I think that has made me a more empathetic person over the years, and I think that's something that the whole world needs more of. So yeah, I think that is my answer for number 3. And then number 4 is browse a bookstore, library, or a friend's shelves. So I'm not going to do this, but I'm going to tack on here at the end a video that I already shared, so you may have already seen it, but I took a great video of my local indie bookstore at Indie Bookstore Day this year, and got the okay to video, of course. So I got a great shot of upstairs all over, wandered all the way through. So I will tack that on to the end of the video here for you to enjoy. And then finally is to tag people, and since it's still Women in Translation Month, I'm gonna tag some international booktubers, and I think I wanna tag Maya and Christina from Bookworm Dreams. So yeah, I just want to celebrate women who are not in English-speaking countries, who also read in other languages, and yeah, so that's who I'm gonna tag. And I think that's it. So thank you all so very much for watching, as always, and I hope you get some great book browsing done.